It's ready.
All right.
Time to go? Okay. Let's call the Munster Board of Parks and Rec to order for August 17th. First item, public input. Anybody out there from the public have anything to say? Mark, I assume you have
We
no.
did not receive any today. Yes.
All right, there being none, we'll close that section of the meeting and move on to administrative matters. Approval of the minutes from the shortest meeting we've ever had on August 3rd.
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Vouchers, just one. Anybody have any questions? I didn't.
I'm assuming the antenna low voltage worked with the dog park.
That was a dog park, correct? Yep.
That,
Motion to approve.
again,
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Mark, your report.
Yeah, I'll highlight a few things and let you ask any questions as we come through this. The 2022 budget was submitted to the clerk's office, so they will have that from our department. We are up, well, we're up 13% from what the reduced budget was after we had to cut it earlier this year. So up 13%, but we're still short of what we had requested at the beginning of last year. And we're still holding out for some additional increases to add in for any type of staff or for full-time as well as part-time increases. So we're not within that figure either yet at this point. Baseball tournaments, Munster Little League had the state tournaments, and Munster Acre hosted the Ohio Valley back-to-back weekends in July. Really without any problems. Kevin got called out once during Babe Ruth, the air conditioner. Found out that with all the windows open and the high humidity, that's not a good mix there. So took care of that during the tournament, but otherwise everything went pretty well out there. The South Shore Convention Visitors Authority Jumpstart Grant, we did receive notification from the town that the town did receive that. It's a $20,000 grant that we will put towards a lot of our fall activities. So we're have some, and really very minimal, but basically just sharing that their name on our advertisement for a lot of the different flyers and so forth that we use to advertise the event. So Pennsy Bike Ride, we're having meetings with Cherville and our staff a few times already, and we'll continue. We're doing pretty good for our first year. We've jumped doubled in the last week. We're up to 30, and there are probably similar numbers I think the last that we heard. So that'll be held Saturday, August 28th, starting at 10 p.m. at Roarman, riding to Centennial Park. Then on the way back, we cut through the golf course on the cart path and then head back to Cherville for about a 15-mile route. Fall park use, several of the fall park programs are all getting started. The athletic users, they're getting ready and geared up. Soccer season is coming. Summer camp, recreation-wise, our summer camp did end. We had 50 campers per week during, which was a pretty good number during the COVID summer here. We were at Frank Hammond, and we also had about 20 waitlisted kids per week, though. So there's definitely room for growth if we get the space available to recreate those kids in the future in the summer times. The community market has been running well, lots of new vendors every week. However, the attendance has been hit and miss, so it's kind of a little bit odd there. But that way, we do have 2 markets left. The pool season ended, and the day after the pool season ends, we do our Canine Cannonball, which is the dog park member day at the pool. So we have 31 dogs who took place that day. I mentioned fall soccer early in our program that we house. We have 362 kids signed up for that, so they'll be getting started. We're putting rosters together this week and getting that out to the coaches and get those guys started here soon. The pool we mentioned in the month of August, we did have 4 private pool parties, 5 birthday parties. We only opened 8 days in August, but there were 23 rescue reports during those 8 days. The average daily attendance was 400. We are working on a more detailed summary of the pool season. We'll have that to you. We're also going to try to work on a suggestion while it's still fresh in our heads, which we've been working on already, to bring that to you in the near future with a recommendation for the 2022 season. Park maintenance, in addition to the daily trash and litter pickup, the bathroom cleanings, the mowings, the social center setups, and so forth. We replaced the LED board on the Bainbridge South Field pitch counter, replaced the damaged section of tube on the playground at Sunnyside Park, replaced the pH probe at pool on the chemical controller, cleaned up the spoils at Frank Hammond from the new asphalt work that was done there early this summer. And the Little Free Library that was donated, that you approved previously by Joshua Arredondo, was installed at Stewart Park after we made a few, tightened it up a little bit, cleaned it up, and got that installed out there. The Centennial, as far as maintenance goes, trimming trees and some of the lower hanging branches in the parking lots. Did have a new air conditioning condenser at the maintenance building got installed. A 4-inch main irrigation, might have seen a hole kind of dug near the bottom of the stairs at the Centennial Park there by the landfill. There was an irrigation leak there. We did have to get repaired. The Cabino has removed the temporary wellhead jumper. So if you've been on the golf courses where we connected from one well to another, they ran it up above ground, but that was that actually worked well, but they've now since removed that, and were able to determine what they needed to determine by hooking that up initially. The air conditioner at the clubhouse did go down during the event. We did call out staff to clean the condensers and got that reset, so that wasn't down for too long. Bushes were trimmed along the Penty Greenway from Twin Creek to the dog park area. That seems to be a continual area where we need to cut that back. We've lost 2 seasonal employees, one at Centennial, one at Fisher Street. Kids typically going back to school and so forth there. On Centennial Park, excuse me, on the Centennial Park golf side of things, revenues are down for about $4,000 for the month of July compared to last July. Keeping in mind, last summer was our best year ever of golf, so we were pretty close to the figures there overall.
You know, I had a question on
Yep.
this. I mean, total golf rounds 2,700, then 4,200.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is only a couple thousand. And the same thing with the cart.
Yeah, why
The cart road is 10 versus 5.
Yeah, and I think it really, I think, came out to the point of the revenue from greens fees of non-members is where we're making some of that money, from my understanding.
It just seems like, you know, the rounds is like
Yeah.
1,300. 1,500. Less rounds.
Yeah, I'll double check those numbers. That's what they supplied to us. So I'll double check that and make sure.
So how was June? How was June compared to last? You don't,
I don't have it with me, but I thought that we were on par with what we did last year on golf. Earlier.
I think they dropped fees a little bit lower last
Is
year.
that far?
They could have. Now you say that. Food and beverage definitely was up though this year in July. It's actually 89% compared to 2020. Of course, we had a lot more rentals out there banquet wise. So overall out at Centennial, we were up about 28% for the month of July. So that's a good month there. On the maintenance on the course side, just a couple things. I mean, it's been a weird, you guys all know, weather-wise. I mean, when it rains, it comes in droves, and when it doesn't for a few weeks here. And in the month of July, since July 28th, we want to have half inch of rain. I mean, which is pretty crazy. So we've been catching back up on watering again out there, and continuing to do that. They will work on basically general maintenance out there for the month of August, and then in September they'll be working towards the aeration course and so forth, and then they actually contract out and get the aeration done in October by a contractor, which they've done for the last few years. So. My report, unless you have any questions.
Mark, lots of items for discussion. First one is the cricket pitch construction project award.
So there's a memo letter from Jill, who's also here at the meeting, from SCH to summarize what we've done. We put, as we mentioned earlier in the summer, we put this out for quotes. Ultimately, we received one quote from the area construction company. That came in at $93,700. There, we also added an alternate, which was to extend the length of the pitch by 50 feet, 25 feet each direction. That was also put in there to a price of $18,500. So The engineer's estimates came out together between both of them to be 62,100 plus the alternate of 15,805, so that was 77,905 was the engineer's estimate. As you see from the letter here, that as Jill's seen in the field, the recent market conditions is kind of weird, but a lot of the contract prices have been jumping, and by about upwards of 30% or so, which is on par with what we have. The overall cost to do this project would be the alternate, the base bid, the base quote, plus the alternate one for $112,200. This is something, just the alternate was something that Sheree and Anil, who were the gentlemen who attended our meetings early this year, like last year, I forget when that was, had pointed out to us based upon the cricket pitch that's in Hanover Park, Illinois, that they have played on. They actually added the additional extensions after the initial part was built. And the reason for this is, as the pitcher, and I could be wrong in terminology, but as the pitcher's running up to throw the ball, the transition from turf to regular grass, they're worried about that being a tripping hazard. And adding that additional length each direction will allow the pitcher to be on the actual artificial turf the entire time from when they start their run to when they pitch the ball, if you will. So that was something that we threw in there. I said we put it in there as an alternate when we priced it out, quoted it out, and let us determine if that was something that you wanted to pursue or not. So I do think that the wear around the turf edges, I think that will be a challenge for us. I think in the park system, we aren't out there doing that level of maintenance as much as some of the other areas. For instance, at the high school on the turf infield now, when it transitions to grass in the outfield, there's not much of that lift. But I think that they might have a little bit more resources over there. So with that, the recommendation that Jill put together here and that you get from me as well would be to award it at the base bid plus the alternate. So choose and using funds from previous park bonds.
What other contractors took the bids or took the proposals that didn't bid?
We sent this to,
Because it was under
Massey.
150,000, so.
yeah, we sent it to 4 contractors. We sent it to Hassey, Dyer Construction, Goff, and Gary.
Did we have an estimate in the beginning?
Yeah, it's way over. This is, when I saw the number, I was a little bit.
The estimate in the beginning was.
And do we have to have artificial turf?
Otherwise, it's just gonna wear the heck out. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a baseball between the pitcher and the home plate where they just keep on going up and down. You're gonna wear it out to a point where it's just gonna be a dust bowl.
We actually had a grass pitch out at West Lakes, closer to the playground area. That, yeah, when it was used, it wore out, but then when it wasn't used, then it just grassed over. It was what kind of material was that?
Crushed limestone.
Crushed limestone out there? Yeah, so that was, what happened, didn't work there.
Cricket season, you know. Well, how long? Is it like baseball or?
You know what, I'm not sure. I think recreationally, I think they'll be able to try to be playing on it as often as they can. But we want to share the use of those fields to make sure there's not the conflict between soccer and or Pop Warner football, who's done some flag football out there.
That
How
was
was
my
that?
next question
Yeah.
about the turf and how does that affect that?
So the overall, and I apologize, I don't have it with me on the screen. The middle section of the park will have 2 soccer fields and the turf pitch will be in between them. So when soccer's not being used, the turf is not in the playing, well, regardless, the cricket pitch is not on any of the playing field for soccer.
Okay.
You could play 2 simultaneous soccer games, you won't be able to use cricket at that time. If you play cricket, those 2 soccer fields will not be available. So it'll be a shared outfield of the cricket, or if the soccer is being used, they won't be able to use the sidelines. This is actually where teams, benches, or parents would sit to watch them. It's in that area.
I mean, I listened to
There's, I don't want to say exactly, but there's plenty of distance between the lines of the soccer fields and the edges of the cricket pitch. I split the difference between, and I can't remember the distance, but I know it was more than 50, probably 50 feet at least, I think on either side. I want to say at least 20, I don't know. I don't want to say because I don't remember, but I know it was significant enough. I'm a soccer parent, so I felt like there was plenty of room for people to set up their chairs and not really be on the turf or be bothered.
So how many, I mean, I would listen to the pitch. But that was months ago, and it was on the video, Zoom, and they were all energetic and all, but seriously, how many people are really gonna play? And it's, I mean, this is a lot of money, a lot more money.
But I think when we talked to them, we're gonna be like the only show in the area that long, big distance.
I'm not aware of any other cricket.
I
pitch
mean, they're
anywhere
telling us
near
somewhere
until Hanover
way
Park,
up.
Illinois.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way up in
So
Illinois
who's-
and somewhere way far away in
Right.
Indiana. And the attractiveness is that we're gonna be attracting a lot of people from Chicago and from like South Bend area to come here to do these weekend tournaments, whatever they have. Is that what one of their pitches?
I don't know.
I can't remember any
Yeah.
place that's around here as far as having a cricket pitch.
I don't know that that's what we want is attracting. That's a whole other topic.
I want
If we, where is this number fit in the budget? And would this be, I know that we had some money set aside for this in the budget, but this obviously is over that. So where would that shortfall come from?
We didn't budget for this. This was,
Well,
the
I'm
plan
sorry,
was
I
to
should
use
correct myself.
previous
Yes.
park board bond issue balances.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We have, when I came to work here, the previous park board bond issue balances that were sitting in the bank for us were upwards of $2 million. So.
And now what is it?
Most of, I would say it's, if we're lucky, it's 1.9.
Yeah.
I don't.
We haven't done it.
Have we, what do you think?
We really haven't.
We just made it one. Evan wants a raise. Evan wants a raise. There we go. That's what
So
we
do we.
Yeah.
But of course, you know that that's for capital improvements. So that's what we're mainly using it for, like when the new air conditioner went down at the maintenance building at Centennial Park, that's what we pulled from bond. We used for, we're gonna do some repairs coming up in the pool now to get the gel coat redone on the slides. That's gonna come out of bonds. So it's those things that we're trying to.
But those
look
are
at
for
right
previous
now.
bonds, not for current.
Previous park bonds. There's money as far back as like 2015.
Whoa.
Is that resolution to dissolve the 2015 fund? I don't know if you were
So we're
here.
up to 2016.
So there's still 2016.
So here's a question, probably for Jill. Jill, it's AstroTurf, it's grass. What is out there that could be the change order of all change orders from this to be 100 and, what is it, 10 or 12,000 to, oh, well, we didn't realize soil conditions were this bad and now it's gonna be $200,000 to have a cricket.
I can't.
If
to
there's
me-
anything.
To me, it's
Like,
a-
what's the big expense in this thing?
It's a sidewalk that's covered with AstroTurf. Like, that's how I envision it in my head. That's all it is. It's a 4-inch slab of concrete with
That's
AstroTurf on it.
expensive concrete.
But that's not, that can't be labor.
It's, I don't, and you know, the way we bid it as a lump sum. So I can't even, I don't know. They did not give me unit costs for anything. So I can't tell you what the cost. They could have just decided, hey, let's throw a number.
Yeah, I know, that if we bite, we bite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Equivalent, it's even company, so maybe seven.
I don't know.
But you gotta sub out the concrete.
You'd have to sub out the concrete. That's why
That's
we
the
went
thing.
with the GCs.
Is that concrete moving? Crazy cost now?
In Chicago.
There you go.
You can't put it over stone, that's gotta be on concrete. Couldn't put it over stone instead.
It could,
But that could have some issues with that over time, right?
yeah, they requested the concrete because it's less maintenance. And,
They be improved.
the
Okay.
residents who, yeah.
Then I-
We don't, not knowing anything about,
Yeah, I
How to
know.
build a
Well,
cricket
don't
pitch, I
shoot in
kinda-
the dark. We're also, I really don't know how many participants there truly are. Is lacrosse around anymore? Is this gonna go?
It
down
is.
that
It
route?
is, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a subjective number because you could have 5 people today and 50 people next, the week. So that's a subjective number. And I don't want to get hung up on that. I just think that we have money.
We
Well,
do.
it sounds like we could build it in.
I will also. I'll also give you a
Let's build two of
comparison.
them.
Just, I mean, playgrounds, I mean, we're there. I mean, you know, you put a playground in the Grove, you're gonna spend easily 100,000, you know, or a neighborhood, local neighborhood park. I mean, the bigger, I mean, just as, I don't know, as a comparison, is that worth it for the amount of people? You know, I don't know. That's, I think it's a unique facility that does.
The argument of, you know, how many of these are Munster folks, and how many of these are folks from South Bend, wherever.
Sure.
You'll kind of hear that, I'm gonna tell you.
Don't get those in the way. That's the drawing.
I want to build, I'm making the motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
I'll put it on you guys.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go along with it only because we got $2 million sitting there doing nothing.
I want to be unique. I want to be unique.
Huh?
We did that for the disability.
Nudges to.
I want to see that.
Benefit.
Not just the what? Oh, okay. So we need.
Yeah, what have you been doing with it?
Okay. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like it's unanimous. Okay,
Make it nice.
next one are part-time salary and wage rate increases.
This is something that we presented here to you, a resolution 2021-04. We usually do this later in the calendar year, but I wanted to bring it to your attention early in case you had any difference of opinions that from what we're presenting to you. As you look on the second page of this document, it really is generally trying to make us competitive with the work potential that other employees that we usually would like to hire, the other options that they have. And our location of being near the state line is a challenge. I think you're seeing this, signs just about everywhere that are saying now hiring, and we were no different this summer. And we never did work out at 100%. And I think it's a challenge, and I think it's a testament to the ones that we did have that we got through everything. But there were a few hiccups for us internally. I don't think that the general public would recognize, but they definitely were challenges for us. And you know, I think our current staff did step up and handle them. However, I think it's also a matter of across the board. What we did was just look at all of our positions and say, hey, where can we go to be competitive, and make sure that we, you know, where we don't want to have a facility that we don't have staff to operate. And this ties in a little bit, obviously, to the pool. The pool is one. We've already been told by our manager and assistant managers from this year, they're not coming back. Not to say that it's strictly about money, but that you know, that there are those opportunities. So as we seek out other staff to come to work, we want to be able to make sure to offer a competitive wage to the different staff.
So is this competitive with the other area department?
It is, and this is also something that I shared with Dustin to make sure, obviously our department hires the most part-time or seasonal staff, actually we call them temporary staff officially. But to make sure that Public Works, who hires a handful, and some of the other departments that hire them, that they would also be on that same par.
See, when you do this, is this sustainable? Can we do this year after year after year? Or then all of a sudden, we're going to, instead of hiring 10, we're going to hire 7, that's all we're going to be able to afford.
Right.
So that's something that, I don't know, I don't have that crystal ball, but that's very
Well,
conscious.
to that point, is there an end number to these figures? I mean, I understand that you're paying $10 to $14 an hour, but what's the end, amount to that? Is it 20,000?
Yeah.
So is the, shame on me, what does the pool manager make? I understand that they make $18 to $24 an hour to pay, depending on their experience, but they make 50,000?
16 is the top right now.
What is it?
16 is the top.
Well, yeah, but I don't know how many hours. And that's
Yeah,
on
no,
me.
I think that's a great question.
And that's really hard to answer, Dan, because honestly, like this year, the way we started the pool was one manager or the assistant manager being there. By the time we ended the pool, there was days where we had all 3 of them there together because we needed the bodies there.
So are there new positions on here?
These are all existing positions that we've had. In the first paragraph, there's the enrichment ones. I'm suggesting we just remove the word enrichment because we're not necessarily calling them enrichment anymore. We didn't get that. That used to be typically the summer school teachers who would come in and work for us and doing programs. We didn't get them this year. And I don't think we're going to be getting them in the future. So we just want to be very generic there from that side. Some of these positions are listed there as, again, it's as a tool in the toolbox, so to speak. We may not fill these. There's a lot of these that we never filled at all this summer.
So we had park attendants before?
We did not. That's one that was, in the last year, the town council added that.
We
to
rejected
this.
it, if you remember from.
I do remember
Few
that.
meetings ago.
And after that occurred, the town council added that to the salary ordinance. So that's why, and they added it to that, so that's why I added it back in there. And when they added it as a tool for our department, if we so choose to move in that direction. So, I mean, we never hired a park attendant this year. So I mean,
Do we need to approve this today? And the only reason I'm saying is can we get the full number, the full budget line item for each position before we approve it? I mean, it's August. I think the budgets have to be in by September 30th, if I remember correctly.
Well, we're working on them now. They've asked for them already in the clerk's office. The staff side of it is something that I will be still working on, so I can do that. I mean, and try and get a grand total number there. I think in the end, what that tells us though is that grand total number, we're gonna work that backwards now. If we have 30,000 in that line item, we're gonna be looking through that and saying, okay, how many can we afford? How many hours is that?
Right. I mean, like I said, I'd rather put more money to the pool than I would, and maintenance stuff, Kevin, than I would against almost anything else.
Mhm.
Because for pool, you got a lot of issues, and park, what do you got? 5 people trying to cut 20 some parks?
At least.
Yeah, I mean, so
What's minimum wage?
We're
25.
I mean, hell, you could go to McDonald's and get $1,000 signing bonus and make $15 an hour.
Amazon's $15, it's their Costco 17, I mean, let's face it, $8 an hour is.
No, I agree. I'm just trying to figure out deploying dollars.
No, I agree with you. And what it could lead to is we're gonna have to increase our fees. You know,
That's gonna be, you're totally right, Dave. That's the domino effect of this, unfortunately.
Right.
It is what it is. I mean, that's, you know.
well, you know,
Well, a lot of these pay for themselves, you know, the majority of these, like the summer camp, that obviously that pays for itself. So, you know,
But just like you said, that summer camp fee next year is gonna have to go up to help make up for that.
Right,
But
but
you're
you're
right.
right, a lot of these programs, they do pay for themselves, just like enrollment. And I think that it's good to increase those, you know, follow people to run the programs. That's,
so if we were to defer it to get how much the real number would be in an increase, can that be done before? We don't have to- It would put us right behind. April. We have until November?
Oh, even better.
Typically, we didn't do this type of business until like November meeting.
If you, I guess really at this point, if you just kind of give me the indication that collectively you're open to this idea, that's almost really all that I need right now, because it's getting that budget prepared to submit that.
I'm for sure we need to raise rates for staff so we can get people fully staffed and so we don't have to end up with a lawsuit with not saving a kid or a tree limb falling on someone's head.
Yeah, I'm open.
I also think that even the lowest increase is $10 now. A lot of them are 11, 13, and that's just like, I mean, that's human. You know,
And it is.
let's face it.
it
Yeah.
is.
So how about we table this and?
I would just make
one.
this is my own personal comment. I'm just gonna make this comment about the park attendant. I just feel like it's a waste of money. And the money that you're allotting for this could be better spent in getting better camp directors and lifeguards and existing great programs that we already have here. And I just don't think that's necessary. So my vote to that would be no.
Well, you're not saying that it's not part, it's just something that the council was authorized. It's not a budget item at all.
So you need a motion to table it.
Once you're
I don't
in
even know
here,
that we-
but once you're in here,
It never used.
you can hire them, you're using them.
So
But I think
I
that
think we got to authorize the position.
No,
No, that's
the
already
council
done.
already
The
did.
council has it in their salary ordinance, so that's what it is. Whether we choose to fill it or not, at least
Two
my
council
experience-
members are right here, they can clarify.
Whether I choose to fill it or not is another.
Right, okay. Well, anyway, we're gonna table. Do we need a motion to do that?
But I think Mark was asking for a little bit of a direction in the sense that.
I'm in favor of raising the salary.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. I think
We
we're all-
just need more detail.
Okay,
Yes.
yep, I'll work on that.
Agreed. Okay.
Sounds great.
So now we should get a motion.
So the other battle we'll worry about.
So we should have a motion to table this.
Sure, I'll make the motion to table.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Last item is Park Board / Town Council Working Group. We have the Honorable Charles Gardner here.
I guess in a way, I'd like to, just so I can put it into the record, the memo or the email I sent to the council, or to the park board, if, I'll just quickly go over that, and I can entertain any questions that you might have. As you can recall, at the beginning of this year, the park board and the town council had a joint work study meeting to discuss the comments that members of the town council received from residents throughout last year and the early part of this year. It was discussed that we would use the spring and summer to gauge and review the operations at Centennial Park. While the summer is not over, budget time is quickly approaching. And we feel it's appropriate that we form a working group, 2 members of the park board, 2 members of the town council, and various staff members to jointly review and evaluate the operations at Centennial Park. This working group will focus on the overall budget, operational efficiency, events, attendance, and the long-range vision for the park. The working group will keep both the park board and town council aware of the discussion, and prior to any recommendations being put forth, there will be time for input by all board members and all council members. Please note that the working group will use the Munster Parks and Recreation mission statement as its baseline. That mission statement reads, Munster Parks and Recreation shall provide and maintain quality parks, facilities, open natural spaces, education, and recreation programs and services, which will enhance the physical, social, and emotional well-being of all the citizens of Munster and the surrounding communities. With that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions or make any additional comments.
So are you looking for 2 people from the president to appoint 2 people? Because
Well,
I'm looking for-
volunteers. I know I have one who wants to.
I'll
What
volunteer.
rest of
What
it?
time frame are we looking at, Chuck?
We're looking to have a first meeting within the next couple of weeks. I would say within the next 2 months, we should have some recommendations.
We're looking at maybe
So the next summer, we
Yeah.
have the new
October,
policies
beginning of November.
in line.
to make the recommendations.
Yeah, part of what we see is the pressure on the budget is coming around. If we look at increasing salaries, or if we just look at the increased cost of maintenance. There's over $500,000 of expenses that are paid each year, plus probably some monies that are due to Indigo Golf each year. And we want to really review some of that information. We also want to look at assets that are out there that are being either overutilized or underutilized. There's a number of them that are being underutilized. There's also some activities throughout the year that number of special events that have happened out at Centennial Park have been reduced this past year also. So we'd like to take a look at some of those things also.
And in addition to the 2 and 2 members, I take Dustin, Mark.
I would anticipate that you have a town manager, yes, would be involved, the director of parks. I would also anticipate somebody from the clerk's office, probably somebody from the police department.
We need a formal motion. That's all I think we do. Well, I know we have one volunteer who's expressed it in writing, which is fine with me. I mean, I'm willing to do it unless somebody else. I really want to.
I know you're all looking at me.
No, I'm not looking at you were saying something. I'm just.
Yeah, I would.
David, an advantage of your being on it is you were on the park board when Centennial Park was developed in the first place. And I think your opinion and well, so was mine.
No, you're just saying he's old.
I was on the park board when you were on the park board, and he was the superintendent.
No, I'm not that old.
Yeah.
And I was all the way out of high school when he got the park board, so I don't know what's going on.
I was
Yeah,
on the
that's-
park board 20 years and David was on when I joined.
There you go. Frisky, remember that? I mean, sure was. Now we got Robin.
But I think Dave and Robin would be a nice pair. Personally.
It's not our intention to tell you who to put on there.
Yeah, I know.
It's our intention to get, if there's comments or questions that the park board has, that we get them well thought out and well discussed before any recommendations are presented to the park board and to the town council.
the board, it has to come back.
Yeah, to be discussed, yeah.
Yeah, it does. We can't have three because then we got.
I've limited myself. in consideration.
You haven't, believe me, I know. what the city does. So. Yeah, I know, everybody is. I'll agree to it.
That's what you get.
Yeah. And Robin's adamant about it.
I would like to, I'm there every day.
All right. Sorry, Mike.
You get more per diem.
That's true.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions that you have for me or for Ken? Again, my intentions tonight was mainly just to read that letter and also answer any questions. What I want to make sure that this is that the park board is engaged and has the opportunity to ask us questions.
Meetings aren't going to be early morning.
He's
No.
retired.
Absolutely not.
What's early morning to you now? What is that?
Depending on the makeup of the committee, it would be, the anticipation would be to have them in the late afternoon. However, it is up to the committee members and who can make it. So, and the work associated with those times. Yes, Mike, you have a question? Okay.
All right. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So what are we doing, Mark, for September